Welcome to Deck Analysis and Testing. Today we are looking at Crystal Beast. Crystal Beasts are a bunch of monsters used by Jesse Anderson that go to your back row when they are destroyed. Their intended win con is to use their boss monster, Rainbow Dragon, but that card sucks. So realistically, if you want to actually win games, we will need to play a control strategy known as Conclave Control, instead of playing a bunch of bad monsters to summon one big monster that loses to a single Book of Moon. This deck plays a level 4 beatdown with a bunch of traps. Most notably is, of course, Crystal Conclave, which is a pretty good trap. With the right opening hand, this deck can also spam enough monsters to go into rank 4s and generic links. With that said, let's have a look at the cards. We have, of course, Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus. This is the best Crystal Beast monster. When it's summoned in any way, you could place a Crystal Beast monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard face up in your spell and trap zone. And also, if it's destroyed, it gets sent to the back row as a face up continuous spell. Crystal Beast Topaz Tiger has the same effect that sends itself to the back row when it is destroyed, and also if it attacks a monster, it gains 400 attack. And for our final Crystal Beast, we were playing one single copy of Ruby Carbuncle. This is basically the Garnet of the deck. And when it is special summoned, you can special summon as many Crystal Beast cards as possible from your spell and trap zone. This is a really good way to spam a whole bunch of monsters from your back row to make your rank 4s or your generic links. For the spells, we were playing one copy of Monster Reborn, just another extender for the deck. We were playing 2 rare value. This is basically Pot of Rage. It needs you to send one Crystal Beast card from your back row. Your opponent chooses one of 2 that you have in your back row, and you draw 2 cards. And it is not once per turn, so you can activate it many times if you have multiple. And one copy of Crystal Bond. This is available through the level up rewards of Jesse Anderson. It is really good. It searches any Crystal Beast monster from your deck and also sets another one with a different name to your spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. Next is 2 copies of Rainbow Bridge. This adds any crystal spell trap from your deck to your hand, and itself is actually not a crystal monster. Not a crystal card. So, it doesn't technically mention Crystal Beast, but it doesn't really matter. And we have 2 copies of Crystal Promise. Target a Crystal Beast card in your spell or trap zone and special summon that target. This is another way in which you could spam out your level 4 monsters, or you could summon Ruby Carbuncle, which summons even more monsters, to make your extra deck monsters. For our traps, we're playing 2 copies of Crystal Conclave. This is a really good trap. It has 2 effects. Once per turn, if a Crystal Beast monster is destroyed, you can special summon another Crystal Beast monster from your deck. And you can send this card to the graveyard, and then target a Crystal Beast card plus 1 card your opponent controls, and return them to the hand. But you cannot activate these effects in the same chain. So you have to activate this effect on a new chain, so you have to flip it up, and then wait for your opponent to have an opportunity to respond, and then after that chain ends, you can use the second effect to bounce a card back to the hand. And finally, we have Super Rush Recklessly. This is a really good free-to-play trap that the deck has access to. You can destroy a beast monster you control, plus 1 monster your opponent controls. It spins it back to the deck. For the extra deck, we're playing a whole bunch of generic stuff, including Rebellion Xyz Dragon, Sky Pegasus, Magnus, which we can summon using Dreadnought. And for the links, we have the usual Power Code, Code Talker, Gar Saber, and Pentastag. For our skill, we are playing a really good skill. Crystal Beast, for some reason, have a really good skill, basically since they're introduced into the game. And Transcendent Crystals allows you to discard 1 to 3 cards from your hand to the graveyard, and then choose the same number of Crystal Beast monsters from your deck, and set them to your spell and trap zone. This is basically a searcher. If you have something like a Crystal Promise, you could just set Pegasus from your deck using your skill, and then summon it using your Promise. Or if you don't have Promise, you could always just use Conclave during your opponent's turn, and then return the Pegasus that you set using your skill, and then during your next turn, you can normal summon it from your hand. So yeah, really good skill. obviously, but it does require you to play at least 7 Crystal Beast monsters. They could share the same name, that's why we are playing only 3 names instead of 7, but you need 7 individual copies. That's why we are playing 3 Pegasus, 3 Tiger, and a single Carbuncle. Okay, so let's have a look at the expensive version. We are playing 3 copies of Zephyros. You could actually just play 1. I like playing 3 because I like opening this card. This card is basically a 1-card combo that lets you make a rank 4 monster. It is, once per duel, its effect allows you to summon itself from a graveyard by returning a face-up card. What you're gonna do is, if you have this card in your hand, you can activate your skill, discarding your Zephyros to set a Sapphire Pegasus, and then use Zephyros effect to bounce back the Sapphire Pegasus to summon itself, and then normal summon the card you just add back, in which case it's probably going to be Sapphire Pegasus, and then you have 2 level 4 monsters to make a rank 4 or link 2. It's really good, but it is once per duel, so you could get away with playing a single copy, but yeah. And we're also playing a single Cobalt Eagle instead of 3 copies of Topaz Tiger. It's because of a card we have in our extra deck. Lightning Chidori requires you to use 2 level 4 wind monsters. So usually you can just make it using 2 Sapphire Pegasus, but sometimes you're gonna have another name on your field, and Cobalt Eagle will basically do it the same. For the back row, we are playing 1 copy of Crystal Beacon instead of 2 Crystal Promises. That's because Crystal Beacon is a lot better if you're going through good Link monsters, in which case we're playing Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Unicorn, Rasta Liger for OTKs, and Underclock Taker to help you OTK. So in our scenario, we have a lot of good generic Link monsters, which gives Crystal Beacon a lot more value. You could summon Carbuncle from your deck, and then summon 2 Crystal Beast monsters that you set in your back row, and that's just 3 Link materials using a single card without using your special without using your normal summon. But it does require you to have Carbuncle in your deck, which you might not have, because you might just draw this card, which makes Crystal Beacon basically a lot less good. So if you're not playing good Link monsters, I still probably think that Promise is overall a better card. And also because you can only ever activate a single Crystal Beacon in the course of a duel, because you only have 1 single Ruby Carbuncle in your deck. So after you use your Beacon, you kind of can't do it a second time, but for Promise, you can do it multiple times within the same duel. So there's that. For the back row, we are playing Crackdown because it's just a good limit free trap, triple Concave, and single Crystal Raigeki. This is plan B, basically. If you already have Conclave in your hand and you also have Rainbow Bridge, instead of searching a second Conclave because it's hard once per turn, you could search a Raigeki, and that will be your second disruption, basically. And for the extra deck, I kind of already talked about it. We are just playing better generic Xyz and Link monsters, Giant Hand, Dark Rebellion, Abyss Dweller, Lightning Chidori, and then for the links we have Nightmare Unicorn, Larsa Liger, Underclock, and Phoenix. So let's have a look at the games. Our first game is against Tenyi, which is a pretty decent meta deck. It's usually pretty hard for most free-to-play decks to beat Tenyi, but we just might be able to do it. Even though we went second, which is not ideal for a trap deck like our deck, we still might be able to do it, depending on how many monsters he is going to end up with. He's going to do the typical Tenyi combo, making Berserker of the Tenyi, and then gaining a bit of life points using their free effect skill. But because the skill got nerfed, they aren't going to get 3,000 life points, instead they're only going to get 1,800. And then during our turn, we could activate the skill set 2, and then use a rare value. Doesn't matter what they send, because it's always going to be Pegasus. We're going to set 1 and pass, and then during their turn, we're going to spin back their monster. We're going to avoid special summoning a monster with Promise, because this field spell allows them to draw 2, and I really don't want them to draw 2 cards. Now they kinda are running out of resources, which means we will have a much higher chance of actually winning this game. Our opponent will be summoning a single Shaman, but that's not a non-effect monster, so his field spell won't let him draw 2 cards if I special summon a monster, so we will do just that. We'll activate Promise, summoning a second Zephyr Pegasus, setting Pegasus from our graveyard, and then just attacking with our level 4 monsters. I don't want to make a rank 4 monster or a rank 2 because I don't know what the set card is, and if our single card gets removed, we will be in a huge disadvantage, so I'd rather have 2 level 4 monsters and just attack with it. We're gonna bounce his single Tenyi, and yeah, he just loses. We just win with level 4 monsters. Our second game is also against Playmaker, but this time I don't think we are playing against the meta. He is playing Storm Axes. Okay, we are also going second. It's not very ideal, but he's playing windups. That's pretty cool, to be honest. He's gonna make Zenmaity, Zenmaity summon Rat summon another Rat, the 2 Rats make a second Zenmaity effect. I'll just fast forward. It's gonna take some time. It's just gonna be the third Zenmaity, summon a Wind Up Shark, and then he's gonna link all 4 monsters to make a Topologic Bomber Dragon. And then he sets one in pass. We actually read his monster's effect, so we're not going to summon a monster in a zone that it points to, because it's gonna destroy everything. So we're gonna summon Pegasus and normal summon a Topaz Tiger, and then we're just gonna pass turn. Our goal is to spin the monster back with Conclave or Super Rush recklessly, which we will do right now to spin back the monster when he tries to activate the effect. So we're gonna spin back the monster, and then his effect will wipe both our monsters and their monsters. So we're left with no cards in our hands. But we draw a Pegasus, so we can just attack with that. He draws a Wind Up Rabbit. We draw a Promise. That's enough for lethal, so we're gonna summon the Pegasus and just attack. It's that simple. It is time for the third game, which means we are playing the expensive version of the deck. We're playing against Salads, and we going second again. One day we're gonna go first. We open pretty well. We have a Zephyros, and that's basically 1 card combo. And these 2 traps would be good if we were going first, but I don't think it's gonna do a whole lot going second. Our opponent is going to do their entire Salad combo. They're going to summon back the copy of Falco, activate Mirror's effect when it's added back to the hand, special summon itself, activate their field spell, make a copy of a Sunlight Wolf, and then end turn. Wow, okay, this is actually winnable. Ooh, this is a really good draw. We're gonna activate our skill, discarding 2, setting 2 Pegasus, and then we're gonna summon back the Zephyrs. Normal summon our Pegasus that we added back to our hand, set a 3rd Pegasus, and then we're gonna link summon an Underclock Taker because we're actually going to do a 2-card OTK combo. We're gonna use the Zephyrs plus the Rainbow Bridge, which will add a Beacon summon a Ruby Carbuncle effect, summon the 2 Pegasus, and that is actually enough for lethal. So the way we're gonna do it is I'm gonna go through our Link monsters. Even though we are going to trigger his Sunlight Wolf, that's okay. He's just gonna add back a card that he will not be able to summon, because we're gonna win this turn. We're gonna activate Underclock Taker to make its attack 0. We're gonna make Unicorn and then activate its effect, because why not? It doesn't really matter. Because we're gonna make a Rastaliger, and targeting the Unicorn we used as a link material, gaining a whole bunch of attack, and attacking his 0 attack monster, which will be enough for lethal. We don't even have to use our trap cards.